Jessica Jones Season 2 has been added in its entirety to Netflix, and since I really enjoyed the previous 13 episodes, I was curious to see what the super-powered alcoholic PI was going to get into this season, and just as a warning, this review is going to contain spoilers. Having eliminated Kilgrave at the end of Season 1, Jessica is still haunted by the persistent fear that she's a killer. Despite her closest friends reassuring her that she had no choice, she's still tormented by anxiety, depression, and loneliness. Malcolm, her new partner, one she's reluctant to have, and Trish, her best friend, convince Jessica to uncover the truth behind IGH, the facility that supposedly experimented on her, resulting in her abilities. This leads Jessica down a significant path of discovery. Similar to The Punisher, the first half of this season started a bit slow. Most of the episodes revolved around Jessica trying to uncover truths about her past with this IGH facility. We also learn that Jerry, played by Carrie-Anne Moss, has been diagnosed with ALS, and a subplot develops where she meets someone who can possibly heal her, as well as a client that she's protecting who knows this person. And at the same time, some of Jerry's coworkers try to oust her from her firm under the flimsy guise of this medical clause that says she can't work there if she's really sick. And for the first half of this show, it was difficult to escape the feeling that we were strolling through the plot, rather aimlessly. Things happen, characters learn a few things here and there, but for the most part it does feel like the first half of the show is just Jessica discovering some truths every once in a while before the show starts to kick into high gear after episode 7. And that episode was a delightful diversion from the IGH plot, exploring Jessica's roots with a former boyfriend and some devastating familial revelations. You learn where she got her signature jacket and why her company is called Alias Investigations. There's also some genuinely affecting scenes between Trish and Jessica when Trish was at the height of her drug addiction. A major plus of this season, just like the first, is Krysten Ritter. She is a fantastic actress. Her range is staggering. She can go from stoic and proud to a crumbling pile of grief. She's just so terrific in this show, and she makes every episode, even some of the more aimless ones, watchable. But the real gem of this season is Janet McTeer. She's introduced as a villain early on, but halfway through, we learn that she's actually Jessica's mother, that Jessica thought was dead this entire time. She had been experimented on in the same facility Jessica was, and her memories eventually regained, and she was looking for her daughter. Jessica always thought she was gone, and so the ensuing dynamic that develops between these two very different but similar characters propels this entire season to greater heights and greater depths. And I just wish she was around earlier. Her presence is intimidating, she's frightening, and she makes the entire show better. She has now entered into that holy realm of actors that if I saw them on the street, I would be afraid to approach them because their characters are so frightening. Like, imagine walking up to Robert De Niro. It's kind of weird, right? Like, you're a little scared. Like, oh shit, like Goodfellas and The Untouchables. I don't know if I want to walk up to that guy. If I saw Janet McTeer on the street, I would want to say, "You're amazing, you're incredible," but I'd be like, just don't kill me. So with that, the final half of this season became the show I wanted it to be from the beginning, which is disappointing. A major theme explored by this season is how we use people. Malcolm uses Jessica to keep his mind off his former addiction. Trish uses Malcolm in many terrible ways. Jessica puts her new neighbor in danger by constantly asking for fake IDs. Jerry's one last hope for healing her ALS ends up stealing all her belongings. While this is a compelling observation for a Marvel television show, it didn't always gel with the IGH plot. Jessica wanting to know more about her powers, Trish wanting powers. The show, as I said, gets much better once there's this dynamic between mother and daughter. But the first season had a very scathing exploration of what sexual assault does to someone, and especially when a man is very controlling of his victims. This season takes a while to reach anything even close to those creative heights, which was disappointing. It's not a bad season. I didn't watch this season and think, oh my god, just end. It's just that some episodes didn't really feel like they fit in to the core of what the creators were going for. And so as a result, sometimes the show meandered, even though some episodes are pretty damn good, and overall, I enjoyed myself watching this season. It just wasn't as good as the first. An issue with every show in Marvel's Netflix library, even the best one, Daredevil, is that they've gone away from episodic narratives in favor of binge-worthy stories. Almost every single episode in this season gets the most interesting in the final 10 minutes, pressuring us to watch the next. It's one of the reasons episodes like the 7th stand out as special amongst the pack. There are fun hints for Marvel fans, like one of the doctors telling Trish she's used up 2 of her 9 lives after she's gravely injured, or a side character saying to Jessica, "I know how you people like to team up," which incidentally is pretty much the only time the Defenders is referenced in this show, which I also found a little strange. You would think those life-changing developments for Jessica would at least be on her mind slightly. Was I invested? Yeah, sure I was. I cared. But the first 6 hours kind of made it hard to really get into the show, largely because Jessica's case, her researching the IGH facility, is something that she's forced to do, really. Trish and Malcolm are constantly coercing her to give a shit about this case, and she finally discovers a few things and goes, okay, maybe there is something to this. So since our protagonist at first takes so long to really give a shit about the main plot that's set up, as a viewer, I didn't really care as much either. The Jerry subplot was wonderfully acted on the part of Carrie-Anne Moss, but in the end it didn't feel like it belonged in this story, which is a shame. There's also a rival PI after her, and he springs up every once in a while. His addition to the show was pointless at best, and even in the final episode when Malcolm unexpectedly joins his firm, you're left wondering how much of this is really necessary for this season. There's also an episode where Trish asks Malcolm to film her secretly confronting a director that had sex with her when she was underage, and she uses that footage to blackmail him, which also leads to a few plot points, but it's just another episode where Trish forces Malcolm to do something, and he's just sort of left in the dust, which is understandable because of the way his character ends in the final episode. He's in a terrible place, and you're like, okay, I see what got you to side with everyone else except the people who care about you most. But it just felt manipulative, I guess. I love the character Jessica Jones, and I hope that Season 3 gives her something better to do. I think it was a mistake to kill her mother in the finale, because her inclusion in the series brought about a sense of unpredictability that challenged Jessica considerably. At the same time, it is intriguing to ponder about what they will do with these characters, Trish and Jessica, in Season 3. Because Trish could become Hellcat, or this show's version of Hellcat. Also, she killed Jessica's mom, so that's not going anywhere pretty. I'm intrigued to see what they do with these characters. I just hope that it's a little more focused. I'm going to give Jessica Jones Season 2 a C+. If you were a big fan of Season 1, I would recommend checking out Season 2. It might disappoint you a little bit like it did me. It's not awful. It has strong moments. It has weak moments. It just doesn't always feel like it comes together. But there are things to be excited about, namely Janet McTeer, who's just insanely great in this season. Guys, thank you very much as always for watching, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.